I built this Python project for Formula One fans and it's racked up over 1 million views on social media. So I thought I'd make this video to introduce you to the project, explain what it is, how I built it, and where you can download it so that you can have a go for yourself. Let's get into it. F1 Race Replay is a Python application used for visualizing Formula One telemetry and replaying race events from above, so you can get a complete view of what's happening in the race. It also allows you to review qualifying data and car telemetry, so I will explain that in this video as well. It's an open source project, meaning that you can download the code, make changes to it, and use it for whatever you'd like. All I ask is that if you do use the project publicly for whatever purpose that you want to use it for, please do leave a link back to the original project so that you can credit both myself and also the other contributors. You can download the code by visiting the GitHub repository and then either running git clone in your terminal or downloading it as a zip file and then unpacking it as normal. You'll need to open the code inside of your favorite code editor and then set up a Python virtual environment and install the dependencies. This is how you set up an environment on a Mac, but the process might differ slightly if you're using Windows or Linux or whatever you want to use. To run the tool, you'll need to run python main.py and then use the year and round arguments to select the race that you want to watch. You can check the round number by visiting the F1 website and then going onto their schedule and having a look at the round number relevant to the race that you want to find, if that makes sense. When you run that command, the Python application will start and it will need to go and pre-process all of that data to get all the telemetry synced up and do all the magic that I've coded to make it do what it needs to do, which will take maybe a minute or two. So do be patient, but then once it's ready, it will show the interface. So now that it's running, let me give you a quick walkthrough of the features. As you can see, the race that we've chosen is now being run on screen, and each of these dots is a driver going around the track. We can pause, speed up, slow down the replay using the spacebar and arrow keys, and we can also go frame by frame using the left and right arrow keys. Oh, and we can also press R to restart the race. On the right here, we have the leaderboard, which currently displays the order of the drivers during the race, as well as their tyre compounds that they are currently using. If you click on a driver, you will see more insights into their telemetry, such as the speed, gear that they're currently in, whether or not they have DRS open, etc. In the top left, we can see the lap number that we're currently on, the length of the race so far, and the speed that we are watching the race at. And just below that, we have the weather data, which changes throughout the race. Oh, and finally, when we get a yellow flag, red flag, safety car, virtual safety car, the track changes color and we get a nice bit of text in the top left here telling us. Since writing the script for this video, I have also added a new feature that shows qualifying. It allows you to review the telemetry that's coming off of the cars so that you can see exactly what's happening in a driver's qualifying lap. All you have to do to access this feature is pass the qualifying argument when you run the Python project, and instead of the race view appearing, you get this leaderboard screen. Using this leaderboard screen, you can then select the driver and their lap time from the different qualifying segments. For example, this is Lando Norris's qualifying lap for Abu Dhabi 2025. The telemetry is being animated onto the screen as the car goes around the track, with this line representing his speed, this one is the gear changes, and these two are throttle and braking. So this tool gives you a pretty decent insight into what's happening in the race. But how does it work? The entire project is built using Python, and as of today, the only data source is the FastF1 Python package. If you haven't heard of it before, FastF1 is a fantastic free Python package that enables you to access tons of F1 data like driver info, session results, telemetry, and much, much more. So if you're an F1 fan working with Python, I definitely recommend that you check out the FastF1 Python package, just maybe for a hobby project or who knows what you will build. Now, in order to display the drivers all going around the track all synced up together, I have had to spend a lot of time writing functions for importing the data and syncing it up to the same timeline. But without the Python package sitting in front of its source API, this would have been a much more complicated process, so I'm very grateful to use that package. Now, for the interface, we're using the Arcade Python package, which is primarily meant for games, but is actually a really good solution if you want to create an animated sequence or animated interface like this one here. I did initially use matplotlib, but it didn't have that spark, that fancy feeling when I rendered the video. I think we can all agree that the arcade version is better. Now, while I do want to point out that the initial versions of this project were built by me, since then we've added a lot of features, and because it's open source, a lot of people have contributed their own work to it. For example, the weather feature was written by this developer, the lap number was written by this person, and the window resize feature was written by this developer. There are a few other contributors that I haven't named, but if you go onto the contributors.md file in the open source repository, you'll be able to see all of them credited for the work that they've done. And to anyone else that contributes to the project, thank you very much. A lot of people have been asking me about the future of this project, and before I get into that, I just want to say that I had no idea that it would actually blow up to the scale that it has done. With any of my other projects, I would simply build a new feature if I wanted to add a new feature, add it to the public repository, and that's it. But with the amount of public interest that this project has received, I think it's only right that I do it properly by creating much more of a defined roadmap so that other developers can get involved and help to build features without necessarily straying too far from what I want the project to be. Ultimately, the goal here is to build the best data insights tool that we possibly can for Formula One fans so that they can explore the data behind their favorite sport. This means that every single feature needs to achieve two goals. One, delivering as much data as possible around that specific metric that we're trying to communicate. And two, being really easy to understand and digestible if you're someone who maybe isn't too technical but wants to learn more about the data behind Formula One. So here are the primary goals that I have for the next few weeks of developing this project. First, implementing a graphical user interface that allows the user to be able to find the specific race that they want to watch and watch the specific session without having to go onto the F1 website, look for the round number, and then put that into the terminal to run a command, which then launches a Python application. Even just talking about it, it sounds like a terrible user experience. So I really need to improve that. Next, adding support for qualifying and practice sessions. Now, you're probably thinking, Tom, you've already shown us qualifying sessions in this video. Well, I wrote this roadmap before I built that feature, and then I thought, well, I need to include it in this video because it's a pretty cool feature. So that's already one item checked partially off of the roadmap. Although I do think there are many things that I can do to improve that feature, make it a bit more informative in terms of adding in sector times or, for example, comparison tools. Which brings me on to the next point. In order to measure a driver's performance, as I said earlier, you really do need to be able to compare them with another driver or another lap time that they have done. So comparison tools are essential for this kind of project, allowing you to look at the telemetry that's coming off of, say, Lewis Hamilton's car and Charles Leclerc's car, and seeing, well, is Charles braking a little bit earlier? Is Lewis maybe upshifting a little bit earlier? And where the performance is being, or where lap time is being gained or lost. As I said earlier, the intention behind this project is to give the user as much insight into the data behind Formula One as we possibly can. Basically like giving the user their own pit wall at home. So I have so many ideas for features, and I'm sure that you do too. If you would like to get involved with the project or try building out one of these features that I've listed, or maybe even a feature that you have an idea for yourself, please do download the code, make some changes, and maybe even submit a pull request to hopefully see your code in the main branch. So I hope you've enjoyed this deeper dive into the F1 Race Replay project, and I hope you're excited to see how the project progresses. If you are, please do follow me on my other channels to keep up to date with everything that's happening.